Hello everyone, Namo MyoHoRenGeKyo. I hope this video finds you in good health. These days that's made very obvious, a precious commodity in our lives these days with the pandemic and all. I know that dates this video, but this is over a year now and we're having resurgence everywhere and it's scary. It's a scary time. And when I read about, I read these letters by Nichiren talking about the famines and the epidemics in Japan at the time. I can't help but feel some empathy and some. It's kind of ominous that the world, in the latter day of the law, since the 13th century, since before, but since about 12,000, depends on what calendar you use, but we are in that latter day period of which Nichiren is our Bodhisattva, our example, our teacher of the Lotus Sutra, Shakyamuni's Buddhism, and the similarities of the authoritarian regimes, sickness, great disasters happening all over the world, probably all the more stressful, immediate, for two reasons. We have a lot more people on this planet now than we did in the 13th century, and we have ways of communications that are almost instantaneous, informing us about all these disasters and so forth. And I think it's important that we take note of the condition of the world today. It's easy to get complacent living in, I don't know that we can be complacent, but people are. They don't pay attention to the devastation of this pandemic, although it is devastating. We just had a major earthquake off the Alaskan coast. They seem to be working their way all along the Pacific Rim. And I used to live in Southern California, so I can tell you, even if you don't think about it every day, it's in there. It's in your mind. And those kinds of fears that we bury, it's a good signaler for how little awareness we actually have. We consider ourselves to be very aware of the world around us. And there's an amazing amount of information going along in our heads about our life condition that we just sort of put in boxes, and we don't stay cognizant of them until something happens, whether it's related or not, and then we just go off. Anything that challenges our security at work, on the road, certainly if you live in a metropolitan center or not, even in rural areas, some little perceived confrontation on the road, road wars, right? We go ballistic, we overreact, because it's not just that perturbation that alerts us to a disaster could happen, but it immediately calls upon all of those others. Even though we're not conscious of it, our bodies are constantly stressed with the idea that our lives are in critical danger from everything, from the weather to disease, to natural disasters, through nuclear disasters, poisonings. I mean, there's so many things to worry about. So I say all of this not because I want you all to be depressed or scared. I'm wanting to illustrate that our cognizance of our actual life condition is it isn't a complete picture. in samsara, we're very good at creating illusions for ourselves, but those illusions can break in this time very easily, and we can be quite surprised at our reaction to simple things because there's all this avalanche waiting to come down the mountain of these other stresses. That is one great motivation for this practice, because as we raise our life condition, which I've just demonstrated we're not all that aware of, we lessen the stress. Where does stress come from? I mean, disasters are going to happen. Pandemics are going to pandemic. You know, that's the condition of the world. But to the degree that we're attached to those things, so that we create these neurologically embedded stresses, fears, fear of dying, fear of illness, right? Remember why we started this practice, why Siddhartha started this practice almost 3,000 years ago? Because of the sufferings of birth, sickness, old age, death. All of those are with us constantly. It's built into samsara. And that's stress. And the more that builds in our environment, challenging those basic things, the more stress we carry with us. That's our life condition. You can be laughing it up after 4 beers and a half a pizza at a bar, but you're just disguising that life condition. You may even be compounding it, right? So, when I say I hope this video finds you well, finds you in good health, that's what I'm pointing to. Your practice, congratulations, is the mediator against those sufferings. So congratulations. Be proud of your MyoHoRenGeKyo, your practice of the Lotus Sutra. Okay? So, with all of that, I don't know why I felt so motivated to do that, but, you know, I'm no different from you. I'm vaccinated. I'm concerned about my loved ones and the people that they see that don't believe in vaccination. I don't know how that's possible, but they do. And they pose a threat through their ignorance, not unlike in Buddhism. There are many who are ignorant of what Buddhism is, how Buddhism functions, and even if they know something of Buddhism, that may reinforce their ignorance of MyoHoRenGeKyo, right? Nichiren, I mean, he's a scholar of his day, as well as a scholar of Buddhism in its entirety. He's our example on how to practice correctly. He's our Bodhisattva. He's assisting us in practicing correctly. Live as Nichiren. I'm not saying banish yourself. You understand. Live with the understanding, the profound meaning of the teachings. Understand that the Lotus Sutra is the ultimate method to awaken your Buddha. And so we're reading now the Persecutions by Sword and Staff, where really Nichiren is just taking this opportunity to educate one of his inner circle. And so at this point, we paused where he was saying, this brings to mind a story. So I don't know why my nose is requiring attention right now, but here we go. A father, anxious about his son's future, what father isn't, trashed the boy with a bow, thrashed a boy with a bow made of Zelkova wood, never heard of it, because he refused to study. At the time, the son resented his father's actions and hated the Zelkova bow. However, he applied himself to his studies so much that eventually he mastered Buddhism. So I suppose the study was about Buddhism, right? Thereby achieving emancipation himself and benefiting others. So he reached the stage of what earlier Buddhism would have called arhat. He reached the stage of unattachment. He saw that he owed his achievements to his father's thrashings. That's not to say you should go thrashing your kids if they don't study, or yourselves. Again, this is a story. In other words, stern discipline by a parent is often required to get a child past their avarice, their desire for entertainment, right? Children are just big want machines. They haven't understood the mechanisms of samsara yet. They're just here and they want everything. And that blinds them, essentially, with the bright light of want, to those things necessary to become a responsible adult. That's a parent's job. So yes, discipline is absolutely necessary. I'm not saying we should thrash our children. We have other ways of discipline, but discipline nonetheless, right? We have to discipline ourselves. We're the worst, right? It doesn't take much but a squirrel to get our attention. That's a joke of modern times. Squirrel. Right? Our attention's very easily distracted. But it's worth bringing up because we live in the age of distractions. It's very difficult to stay focused. And generally, those of us who do find activities to keep us focused generally has to do with work of some sort. But Buddhism is a focus on our highest potential. Buddhism is a focus on our mind, right? So, because of his father's discipline, we'll say, it is said that he erected a memorial tablet made from a Zelkova tree for the repose of his deceased father. That's a lovely circular story, right? But we all need to appreciate our teachers in life. Everything is our teacher in life. Not just our father disciplining us, or our mothers, but society in general. Learning from our mistakes. Maybe you've had a DUI. Maybe you've been incarcerated for it. Maybe you've had a really tough time in relationships. You need to learn about your own behavior and the things you attract because of your mind, your life condition, to rise above it. What is the greatest teacher in any of these situations? Your Buddha. This should drive you to, oh man, what is that? I apologize. This should drive you to your mandala. This should drive you to chant, to awaken your Buddha anytime you recognize it. Quietly in your mind if you're in a crowd, out loud if you're working in a field or driving along, chant. But most especially with the aid of this mandala, to focus your entire mind on Buddha, instantiating your Buddha. Whatever that may be, whatever it looks like, just fully focus on instantiating it, invoke it. It will rattle through all of your life, all your consciousnesses, including memories and situations and feelings, especially emotions. Right? MyoHoRenGeKyo pierces through all 8 consciousnesses to arrive at the 9th, the Buddha. It is the same with me, Nichiren says. When I attain Buddhahood, how will I be able to forget my obligation to Shobo, his teacher from long ago at Seichiji? Much less can I forget the thanks I owe to the scroll of the Lotus Sutra with which he struck me. Oh, Shobo, sorry, different priest. When I think of this, I cannot restrain my tears of gratitude. It's an interesting way of looking at our teachers. Now, it might be easy for you to think back, maybe you're a swimmer or some kind of sport person, and you think back to that one coach you had in Little League or in high school or junior high or maybe at some other organization. This one particular coach really grilled you, but said some things or did some things that just inspired you, that made you want to live up to that degree of excellence. That's an easy one. But how about the guy who stole your bike or bullied you in school? And bullied you so much throughout years, perhaps, that at some point you had to resolve that you'd had enough. And you fought back. And the bullying stopped. You owe a debt of gratitude to that bully. Because he forced you to look inward and develop something that before you hadn't had. Now, if he forced you or she forced you to develop a bad habit, you now have uncovered karma that you might not have before. See, there are ways to look at everything in samsara from varied perspectives. But without bothering to figure out the why. Remember, I did a whole video on the why is a trap, because why is a very circular thing in samsara. Don't bother with why. Just observe and be grateful that you're able to observe. Namo MyoHoRenGeKyo. The greatest observer you have is your Buddha. And this is why your life condition just raises instantly when you invoke your Buddha. And you can see with detachment the actualities of samsara, the dramas that are playing out. They're not you. They're not real life. Those are just dramas, like watching television. The Emerging from the Earth chapter also explains something about me. Because it states that Bodhisattva superior practices and his followers will appear in the latter day of the law to propagate the 5 characters of MyoHoRenGeKyo, I, Nichiren, have appeared earlier than anyone else. How reassuring to think that I will no doubt be praised by Bodhisattvas equal in number to the sands of 60,000 Ganges rivers. Be that as it may, commit yourself to the Lotus Sutra and have resolute mind in its teachings. You must not only believe in them yourself, but also encourage others to do the same, so that you may save those who were your parents in all your past existences. So here we go with existences again, right? Birth, death, every moment. So that bully that bullied you in 6th grade or 4th grade, I'm thinking of my own life here. When you chant for yourself, for your Buddha, that is amazing. But understand that, as I've recently discussed with some of you, changing other people's karma, you may have great compassion for a friend, a relative, or somebody that you barely know, but you want their lives to improve. Or you see in their lives this habit that constantly trashes their life condition. And you want it to change, but you can't change it. You can influence it. You can influence people you know by your very life condition. But you can't change their karma unless you show them the way. Right? I mean, think about it. If you were, let's say you're a track athlete, the Olympics are going on right now, and you're a really good runner, and you see somebody else has the ability, could be an excellent runner, but no matter how much you chant, you can't make them run. How doesn't that make sense? Only if you, hey, come to the track with me, watch me run. Maybe they say, piss off, I'm not interested in that. Oh well, maybe you can't do that for them. But let's say they get interested and they come to the track and they watch you run. You're inspiring them with your life condition and your actions, right? You still can't make them run unless they foster a need in themselves to, I think I could do that. I think, I can't run like you, but can I, participate some way? Yeah, let me show you. Right? This is Sangha. This is how we inspire and lead others Bodhisattva way. You take your compassion and you implement it in your environment and you assist. That's what a Bodhisattva does. Facilitates. You don't have shoes, you can borrow my old ones. Here, do they fit? Okay, you're assisting. You're a Bodhisattva. That's what we do with the practice. We don't hammer them over the head and go, you're a lesser being if you don't do this. What are you, a dummy? Come here, do this. If you don't, then stupid, stay away from me. That's not Buddhism. That's not compassion, right? So compassionately help others, direct them, show them the way. That's Bodhisattva. Namo MyoHoRenGeKyo. Right? So what Nichiren is saying here is, as we behave as bodhisattvas, we change the life conditions, not only of those directly around us, but people that we've known throughout our lives. Our energetic association with those people changes. Believe it or not, especially in our connected age today, some people that you haven't communicated to in dozens of years will see you online. And how you represent yourself online will affect them. You will influence them. You just don't know how huge you influence your environment. As an aside, that's another reason why that old model of monasteries and seclusion is totally irrelevant today. We must be in the society. We must interact. Otherwise, how can we be bodhisattvas? Right? These sects that say they're practicing Buddhism by secluding themselves and changing the world. Well, they're not changing the world. They're changing their world. But you can't change someone else's karma. Only to lead them so that they can change their own. That's how they change their karma. You are an influencer, an assistant, a facilitator, a teacher, to whatever degree that you can do it. Your life condition springboards when you do this. Because it's for some it may be easy, but certainly to start, we're all nervous about doing that. But that's okay. That nervousness also belies a deep respect for what we're doing. And you should keep that respect in hand when you're assisting others. Don't be flippant about it. This is important, right? Let's go on. From the time I was born until today, I have never known a moment's ease. I have thought only of propagating the Daimoku of the Lotus Sutra. I do not know how long I or anyone else may live, but without fail, I will be with you at the time of your death and guide you from this life to the next. All the Buddhas of the past, present, and future attained enlightenment during the hours of the ox and the tiger, In all the three countries of India, China, and Japan, the place of Buddhist meditation is located to the northeast, in the direction of the Demon Gate. These are profound teachings of Buddhism, which are reverently transferred from teacher to disciple. I will explain more in detail later, with my deep respect. As you crave food, this is a postscript, as you crave food when hungry, seek water when thirsty, long to see a lover, beg for medicine when you're ill, or as a beautiful woman desires powder and rouge, so should you put your resolute mind in the Lotus Sutra. If you do not, you will regret it later. Nichiren. So, that's how he closes this letter to a woman who's, again, been struck with a loss. But this is also to Nanjo Tokumitsu, right? The steward of Ueno village in Fuji district. And he is a student of Nikko, who is one of Nichiren's inner circle disciples. And so this is a teaching, really a deep encouragement to Tokumitsu Nanjo about how to practice, but the proper attitude to practice, and how deeply integrated it is into our life experience. Of course, it's life condition itself, right? So, I know I interjected a lot in this letter, but I think it's important to understand the meaning of this swords and staves. It's easy, way too easy, to get discouraged at anything, no matter how great strides we make in our lives. It only takes one little thing to go wrong, and certainly if a second little thing goes wrong, right? How frustrating is it? And we can do the same thing with our practice, with our resolve, right? We can have false expectations, but though emotionally we're very attached to seeing something happen, if it doesn't, then we doubt the practice. We doubt MyoHoRenGeKyo. That's very foolish, but in the moment, it can happen pretty easily. So I'm encouraging you, as Nichiren encourages you. Don't be dissuaded. It's not your practice that's flawed. It's samsara. You probably thought I was going to say it's you that's flawed. We're all human. We're all in samsara. It's this samsaric condition that is, by its very nature, suffering. It's flawed. It eludes us. It plays false role models. It's all false. Unless we look at it with a Buddha mind, with clarity, then we can look at the stumblings and the silliness, and we cannot be so affected by it. We can view it with compassion. Oh, that needs to be corrected. Oh, let me help that through. Let me see that become life-affirming. Right? From the tiny to the unfathomable, we can affect it because it's our world. And the way we help others is by showing them how to do MyoHoRenGeKyo. Then not only do we influence them when they're around, but we can also guide them. And sometimes we have to be strict. Come over, chant with me. Don't say to somebody, well, go to your Gohanzen and chant. Maybe if you've known them for a dozen years and you have an intimate, strong relationship, you can do that. But in general, if you see somebody that really needs to hunker down and do some daimoku, Do it with them. Be the facilitator. Be the teacher. Be the good friend. Be the compassionate Buddhist. I will take out of my day 30 minutes. Let's sit down and just chant for 30 minutes. Come on. You'd be amazed at how important that is. That is being a Bodhisattva. Being a parent, teacher, and sovereign. That's our duties. Those are our most important duties in life. Whether you have children or you are a children, doesn't matter. As a human being, we are responsible for the quality of our life, which includes our environment. Remember, Buddhism, there's no separation. Our environment is us. So if our environment is in disarray, guess who has to clean their room? It's not going to get done by itself. You can influence it a whole lot, but ultimately, you have to help it along. You have to help guide it. Imagine the reward when even if just one of those you help rises. Right? How amazing would that feel? I know some of you have intimate experiences you can tie to this, but to those of you who haven't, just try to imagine that your advice, your assistance, your discipline could take somebody from your periphery, whether a sibling or just a friend or somebody else, and watch them act in a different way because of your influence, your direct involved influence. Wouldn't that be amazing? That's humanity. That's Buddhist practice. That's Bodhisattva. That's why I often say it takes courage. It takes courage to do this practice. Because you have to be willing to put yourself out. But the rewards are unbelievable. Well, they're believable. They're just amazing. All right. With that, I'm going to let you go until the next Go Show. Please take care of your health. Be kind. Help somebody today toward Buddhism, if you can. Sometimes we have to make ourselves uncomfortable to learn. That's our life condition getting in the way. But that discomfort, I promise you, will become such a great reward that you'll be less and less resistant to trying to help others. It's just the way it works. Thanks for listening. Thank you for all your support. Don't forget to download the podcast if you like to just listen to these videos. Sometimes that's easier in our busy lives. The Buddhahood Podcast, remember? And I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.